I mean, okay, what would be most comparable to the West Coast? Maybe Jupiter. And
Bro,
that's five.
you
even
do
then,
not know Jupiter.
No, but 532.
You just compared. Jupiter is one of the nicest towns in South Florida.
Listen.
You just compared it to the West Coast.
Yeah, Fort Myers.
No, man. Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm David Maggard. This is Ralph Pena.
What's
my
up, everyone?
Amigo, managing director of Colliers, sitting beside me, co-hosting with me. And just want to say, if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, and now let's talk some real estate, huh?
Go for it, dude.
I'm tired of talking radio. Let's talk some real estate.
Yeah, man. You sound like a disc jockey.
So, been through a bunch of articles and a lot of stuff out there, man. A lot of
Dude, a lot of
stuff,
good stuff.
Stuff going on with condo associations in North Miami Beach. A lot of big trades, different firms and joint ventures. And so let's get into this. You're going to start us off with what's going on with I think couple small companies got together. Right?
Yeah, a little, mom and pop, Goldman Sachs and Blackstone form a partnership with growing apartment investors for older properties. Goldman Sachs and Blackstone strategic partners have saddled up. They're growing their investment for apartments. They have involved roughly $600 million properties in 2 Sunbelt states. With the partnership, New York-based Ashcroft Capital plans to buy an additional $100 million in apartment properties. The current deal includes debt, new equities, and assumption of existing mortgage for properties that have a total of 3,250 units in Texas and Florida. Now, for Goldman Sachs and Blackstone, the partnership puts them in older properties. Ashcroft Capital focuses on value-add deals with properties built in 1980s generally, and those built between 1995 and 2010, which are dubbed Core Plus. Both property types involve making upgrades to boost rents and income for investors. Kind of a segue what we were talking about before when we went to the CRELA networking event, where what was the hot topic?
Multifamily
for
lending
one.
for 2.
Lending for 2, and what was 3?
And
what type of lending?
Yeah, what they're pivoting to, going down to Class B, C stuff.
Older properties, repositioning them, which is kind of, we're seeing it right here. The firm has bought apartment property totaling more than 14,600 apartments since it was founded 7 years ago. It bought 11 properties last year alone in Georgia, Florida, and Texas, adding 3,500 units. This year, the firm is looking to add up 15 to 20 properties with an eye towards expanding into the North and South Carolina, Arizona, Colorado, Tennessee, and Nevada.
This is kind of what happened in the single-family atmosphere, where the big guys, big dogs, institutional players went in there and bought up all these single-family houses and then put them all online for rents.
Yep.
And now everyone, institutional lenders and players aren't usually in the BC market, and definitely not the C. And here you go, Goldman Sachs and Blackstone partnering up to go after value-add deals in the 80s, you know what I mean? Built between 1995 and 2010, I guess. So, this is interesting. It kind of sucks because this is I don't know how big the properties are.
It doesn't really say. It just, it kind of really, because the article kind of, the way it cuts off, it's, I want more. Because the way it ends, it goes, the deal fits with the firm's strategy to buy properties in the suburbs of large cities with a strong job growth. CoStar research shows the vacancy on these properties at 2.6%. Now, I'm sitting there going, all right, what are the big cities? What are the cities that you're focusing on? You say Florida, Texas, right? Well,
Sunbelt, yeah.
And Sunbelt. Now, when I look at this, I'm sitting there saying, all right, I can see the demand for the BC product, especially if they're renovated, because you're going to get you're not going to get the luxury amenities you will get in the Class A properties, right? You just straight up apartments. If you have built-in washer dryer,
they're chasing that rent growth.
The rent growth with the people who can't afford the Class A product, where they're going to go, right? The nicer BC product.
Yeah, but not this. This isn't what they're talking about. I know what you're saying, but no, this is not what that is. This is built in, the 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is older stuff.
They're allocating. These guys are smart, right? And they're saying they're seeing this as an opportunity right now to go allocate funds that they normally wouldn't go after, chase after this stuff. They've got the teams to do it, and they're just going to take over this.
Yeah, but something, it kind of ties into it kind of ties into what the lenders are focusing on right now. They're shifting their focus to this product.
Well, like they said, the negative leverage gives them that opportunity. So if you have one thing is about having negative leverage. Next thing is about having negative leverage with an opportunity to raise that rent, allocate some capex, and then get to that higher cap rate or that
correct,
debt yield
but lead to the higher debt yield on the takeout.
Yep.
So it's kind of cool. Like we're starting to see now, and it kind of helps the neighborhood too. If you get some of these properties, they're coming in, they're fixing them up, they're investing some money into it. It all ties in together with helping out it is more of the suburbs though.
But don't get it wrong, because there's still people chasing that Class A stuff. So here you go, a sale that just happened in Jupiter, Florida, which is the most North Palm Beach city in South Florida.
Yeah.
Says Bainbridge. This is from The Real Deal. Bainbridge and TPG team up for $161 million purchase of a Jupiter apartment complex. The price per unit comes in at $530. This is Abaco rental community. 340 unit rental community, $530 per unit. That's a big number, man.
That's a huge number.
And it used to hear that number just happening down here in Miami-Dade. Then it started kind of, sprawling up to Broward, and now you're getting that big number up to, Palm Beach County and Jupiter. That's where I grew up. It's pretty amazing.
It is. I mean, we're talking Jupiter. I mean, it's interesting to see, what is driving this number. What is the demand for such a high, price per unit in Jupiter? Because what's the driver to Jupiter, right?
Jupiter's awesome.
Well, yeah,
Jupiter's a beautiful. You've never been there.
I've never been there, so
beautiful town. It's got a college there. It's got the beach life. It's got the farm life. It's literally a great place to grow up, right? And not when I grew up, it had nothing like that. I'm talking skate parks, surfing, horseback riding. You want to play golf, you want to go in your boat. Everyone has a boat. It's got waterfront properties. Jupiter Island is one of the most expensive places you can live in Florida, with Tiger Woods and Pelosi just bought a house there. And this is even beyond Palm Beach Island, because it's bigger. Jupiter Island's bigger,
right?
But Jupiter is super nice, and it's new.
It's a 532 unit. Though that's
okay.
I mean,
530.
When I say that number, you don't think Jupiter.
Hold on, I do, because I know what it is, dude. You got to go there and see.
Well,
it.
maybe that's
it's
just
a beautiful,
me, Miami guy.
It's a beautiful place, man. I would say Jupiter and all is way. It's almost like going to Coconut Grove or something like that, but that's all of Jupiter. There's so many more nice places in Jupiter than there is in Miami, for sure. Absolutely. It just doesn't have a city. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a beautiful town. You got to check it out for yourself. But that's 535 there in Jupiter. Then we come down to here in Miami, and don't get it twisted, because Miami does sell at big numbers, and we're talking about multifamily. Amco's spinoff Air Communities pays $211 million for Bayfront Edgewater rental tower. Edgewater is just north of the downtown CBD in Miami-Dade County. This is a 28-story, 296-unit, sold for, get this, hold on, let's wait, $713,000 per unit.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
That's
$713,000. 535 in Jupiter was big. 713.
That's huge. And Edgewater? Wow.
It's a nice number. It's not even on the water. You have views of the water. It's close to the water, but it's not immediately directly on the water.
It's not unobstructed. You're going to have views, but 730.
It says Mill Creek Residential, with offices in Boca Raton and Dallas, sold the 28-story building at 2150 North Bayshore Drive after completing it last year. In 2021, it built on almost a 2-acre property that includes former site lot of the Edgewater Landmark Unity on the bay. That was a church, according to the property records. That church has since moved to another location at 137 Northeast 19th Street. But yeah, so Amco is like, they've been buying a lot. The purchase marks the third multifamily property that AIR, led by CEO Terry Considine, now owns in the area the south of Watermark and the Arts Entertainment District. AIR owns the 39-story, 471-unit Bay Park apartment tower at 1756 North Bayshore Drive. Both Bay Park and Watermark are near Maggard Pace Park. Shortly before Denver-based Amoco spins off of its apartment communities into AIR in 2020, Amoco paid $89.6 million for the Hamilton on the Bay apartment tower. That's the one that we worked on.
Yeah, they're very active in this market. I mean, this is what, the third or fourth deal we've seen with them?
Well, yeah, they said that's the fourth one. That was developed by Carnival Cruise line founder Ted Arison, 555 Northeast 34th Street in Edgewater. And then it says the deal included a nearby vacant lot, an adjacent small rental building. Last year, Amoco canceled the leases at the 28-story. That was a big thing in the news.
Big deal, yeah.
People were pissed off. 271-unit building that had been in some despair, and they went on a shopping spree, scooping up additional properties along the 34th Street. In May, Amoco filed plans for a 60-story, 241-unit waterfront rental tower on the site across from Hamilton on the Bay. And it says AIR's website now lists the Hamilton as one of its communities. South Florida's multifamily market is booming. High demand has allowed for skyrocketing rents and prompted investment and development interest. And then it says, also in Edgewater, New York-based Kushner Companies, in partnership with PDM Partners, plans a 3-tower mixed-use project with about 1,300 apartments in 2000 at 1900 Biscayne. We worked on that as well. Yeah. Overall, more than a dozen projects with a total of roughly 6,000 rental and condo units are on tap in Edgewater.
Jesus. I mean, where do you go from here? You're talking 700 plus a door. And did the cap rate? That's what I'm curious. Doesn't even mention that.
Not who needs cap?
Who needs? Yeah, at this point, when you're at that point, you're like $700, and this is Class A multi.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. That's.
Didn't someone ask you something that recently, like a developer or something like that? Weren't you bidding something out and you guys were him? Oh, that was in West Coast.
It was in West Coast. That was in Fort Myers.
What was that number? 650.
615. And I mean, this is West Coast, and I'm going. Now, granted, they were going to develop.
But you were like, no.
No, I'm like,
right?
no. I mean, this is West Coast of Florida. We're not talking, Edgewater. But I mean, when I hear Jupiter, I mean, think about it. I mean, okay, what would be most comparable to the West Coast? Maybe Jupiter. And
that's you
even
do
then,
not know Jupiter.
No, but 532. You
compared. Jupiter is one of the nicest towns in South Florida. You just compared it to the West Coast.
Yeah, Fort Myers.
No, man.
I'm just sitting here
You're
going,
gonna have to get in your car one day.
I'll make it a point. I'll do this. I'll
go
drive
up there
up
with
there,
me, and I'll drive you around, and you'll be surprised.
All right,
you'll be completely taken away on all the beautiful mansions on waterfront and all the marinas and all the boats.
I don't disagree with you.
And then you have this whole thing where you used to say you picked, strawberries out west. That's what I used to drive by those places too. And out there, you got the whole equestrian thing.
Yeah, more the Wellington up there.
No,
I get
not
that.
Wellington.
That's not Wellington?
No, Wellington's West Palm. Jupiter has its own complete western 1 to 3 acres. That's where I grew up. We called it out west, which was west of the Turnpike. It's
another planet.
Jupiter is great. They're building the industrial way out by the Beeline, which is where the surf ranch thing was going to be, the Kelly Slater thing, but they're not going to do it there now, which they might do in Fort Pierce.
But
you don't know.
I don't know Jupiter, but I'm sitting there looking at, Edgewater, 732. Jupiter, 535.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
You're coming in the southwest coast of Florida, and I'm going
650,
615 or something crazy. And I'm going, good Lord. I mean, these are crazy numbers.
Good Lord, he said.
Go ahead. Damn. I mean, to me, where's the ceiling in all this?
The ceiling.
Where do you stop? I mean,
sky's the ceiling, my man.
I get it, dude, but you're sitting there going, how do we? At one point, do we just say, okay, this is it? I mean, where does it become affordable?
Well, affordability is what that's what everyone is going to talk about.
What kind of rent are you going to need to sustain that kind of price per unit? A lot, right?
They said in that Edgewater is like, $3,400. But Carlos, he just rented. That was a 2-bedroom for like over $3,000.
Something like that, yeah.
But it was a big unit, and it's not
even
$3 a square foot though. It's like $2 and $70.
But these numbers are $4 and $5. If I'm not mistaken, some of these smaller Edgewater units. I was talking to a lady at one of these networking events. And she said she lives in Edgewater, and I think she's like at $3 or $4 a square, which is
yeah, of course. I mean, anything in Miami and that. Carlos is over here off of US 1, over by the Grove, in bigger units.
Yeah, and he's right by the Metro Rail. He has,
there's some people that are building with larger units, and then there's, that before COVID, the whole developers mentality was micro units. Now it's kind of switched up, but those that were underway and being developed are still on the market and still coming out, still be rented. So anything like that, your 500 square foot, 1 bedroom.
Right.
Not,
Right. Now that you mentioned in COVID, because when you think about it, the whole thing that came out of COVID, which is going to be a segue to the next article, is COVID also created this working from home climate, right? Or everybody started shifting that work from home. So what do you need when you work from home? You need more space, right? It kind of like created this, all right, we're probably going to be seeing more down the line, more of the 1 bedroom with a den kind of setup.
No, because if you see 1 bedroom with a den, that means developer is thinking about closing that den and making 2 bedrooms. That is the Miami.
That's Miami 101. I know. I encountered that in the property I went out to, fairly new. They did the 1 bedroom with a den to be able to meet the parking quota, quote unquote, get their permit.
That's how it
build
works.
A little closet.
That's how we do it.
And call it a 2-1. I get it. But I can see where this concept is coming from because, one of the things with this segue into is the 3 commercial real estate lessons learned from COVID.
Let's hear them.
All right. The 3 lessons are, number 1, the workforce will benefit from investment in technology and office space. The sudden shift to remote work has resulted in uncertainty about office space needs. In the first quarter of 2020, Class A office absorption went negative for the first time since 2010. However, the pandemic has worn on. Many companies have turned to hybrid work models fueled by technology that empowers people to productively do their work from anywhere. This technology can also give an employee a sense of workplace culture. Okay, we encountered that. Prior to COVID, we didn't have, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we even had Teams, did we? Or we had just gotten Teams and weren't really using it?
What do you mean we just got in Teams?
Microsoft Teams in our platform?
I think we shifted to all that during COVID. I mean, but in our profession as being commercial real estate appraisers and analysts and underwriters, we're pretty already up on working remotely and allowed to work remotely, and we have to go on the road and things like that. I mean, I had worked remotely for years, But the technology, we can actually sit here, and I remember we would have a team meeting. I guess when they talk to technology, they're talking about Zoom.
Zoom, face-to-face, where we would put the cameras on and just chit-chat. Like, I remember we would have team meetings. We would just all, at that time, the 4 of us would just sit together and just brainstorm and talk about what's going on. Whereas we felt like we were in the office, but we weren't. It kind of created a little bit of that office culture, but at the same time, we were not in the office, right? And I think COVID was a big factor into that because, I mean, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, all that blew up where people were like, that's what this is. All right, let me start using it, interacting with clients.
Well, yeah, it aggressively pushed that on, I mean, youngsters are already using it with FaceTime and these different
absolutely.
apps. But then it brought it into the more professional aspect, and people had to rely on it. And then even like Zoom or Microsoft Office or Teams, they had to correct their bandwidth and their servers and stuff like that, noticing how many people could get on at one time. And that's, So, I mean, I had already been working like that, doing the whole FIU adjunct professor online. So we were already using Canvas and, so I was already kind of like up on, communicating online with students and stuff. So, but definitely COVID had brought that in there. So number one is technology has ramped up since COVID. What's number two?
Number two, with holistic risk management can prepare companies for the next disruption. No one would have predicted a catastrophic health crisis prior to COVID-19.
Except Fucci.
But companies that had holistic risk management practices in place were equipped to respond to the disruption while others scrambled. This approach doesn't fragment risk among different functions of department. Rather, it realizes all individual risks are interrelated. So, and this lead to Mary Lucy Lester, Senior Vice President of Capital One, said, for real estate investors, risk management conversations are moving away from compartmentalized, tongue twister, decision making. How a company performs means looking at how all areas of the company impact each other. For example, effective teams that can execute on a planned investment are teams that have managed effectively, have the tools they need to perform in a remote or hybrid environment, and, as so many areas of life, have been disruptive.
So what's number three?
So
just give me the bullet
point. Segue to number three, dude. Have a little patience, man.
No, man.
Lesson number three, office needs to be reconfigured to be smarter, safer, and more efficient.
Right, amenities. So keep going. They're going to talk about it.
That's it, dude.
No, what are they saying?
Well,
it's amenities.
What, you want me to just hit the bullet point and move on? According to Cushman & Wakefield, countless CEOs have stated that even if workers are in the office less than they were pre-COVID-19, the benefits of working together face-to-face remain critical for innovation, work quality, productivity, relationship building, culture, and professional development. I like that.
Yep.
Going into the office, even us.
So this is what this says. And this says, those are the three things that came out of COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Not all office spaces have listened, but Miami has. And this is out of South Florida Business Journal from Eric Bojensky. Miami's downtown office sector has undergone tremendous growth. I mean, I'm seeing that right now, doing all the land for Pena downtown. Mm-hmm. Especially in the lease rates, according to the recent report from the city's Downtown Development Authority. We call that the DDA. The report prepared by HR&A advisors in New York compared blah, 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 figures. Let's see what they're saying. I just want to see numbers. During the period, average rents for Class A office space in the area increased 18% to $56 a square foot. Occupancy climbed up to 81%. Rents for Class B, that was Class A downtown, up to 56. Class B office space increased 18% up to 35, and occupancy was 87%. The area's overall lease rate of $51 a square foot was higher on average than rents in the downtowns of Chicago, Boston, and Los Angeles. That's a big feat, man. Those are some big cities right there. Let me say it again. Chicago, Boston, and Los Angeles. We overdid them. Places with higher office lease rates than Miami included New York City and Lower Manhattan and Midtown Manhattan. That all sounds like New York to me. New York neighborhoods and San Francisco. So New York and San Francisco beat Miami downtown. That's okay. But they don't even say, like, okay, they're talking about our downtown. They're not talking about our beach or our financial district. They didn't even mention it because we're smashing them. If the highest thing in San Francisco is $63, we've got $100 triple net across the street here in Brickell.
And that's not even talking Miami Beach.
Yeah. So the average tenant is leasing approximately 26,000 square feet of office space, according to the DDA. That's a big footprint. Yeah. Sectors with the most leasing activity in the greater downtown area included financial, legal, blockchain, cryptocurrency, financial technology. So it's all fintech, as well as existing companies looking to expand and offer more attractive office environments to service the clients. Companies just entering Miami represented 45%. That's huge. It's almost 50% new tenants new businesses. That shows you the population growth, not to mention the employees and the businesses that are migrating here.
Yeah.
A big help from the mayor, Soros. 45% of leasing activity in 2021, which the DDA report credited to Miami becoming a magnet for companies and talent across the U.S. That is so great.
It is, dude. I mean, Miami we've all been talking about it for a long time. It's changing.
It makes you have pride, though, in the city.
Of course,
and being a part of it. And my son's 17, is going to college next year. He's going to go to college here and having an opportunity to stay here and get a good job with companies. You know, it's great, man. In the Brickell submarket where we are right now, where we're recording, where our fantastic studio is, Maggard Media. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. More than 53% of the companies and firms that lease space were new to the market. So in Brickell, 53%.
Wow.
Of all the downtown submarkets, Brickell had the biggest rise in rents, the DDA report added. Lease rates for Class A space rose 23% from the year prior to $65 a square foot. I don't believe that. That's wrong.
Because
there's known signed leases for over 100. And to an average, but that's maybe.
Well, we'll keep in mind that's a blended. That's a blended
number.
No,
it's not built yet. No, it's not blended.
It's not blended because when you hear 65, I'm thinking blended. You know, everything, the lower tier product. And we were talking down the street. They were going for what, 50 on the older buildings.
Well, yeah, that's full service 50 and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's when people are writing these things, you don't actually know. They don't say
because when I hear that number,
triple net, it's not what the brand new tower that's coming across the street is almost leased up and getting way higher
than that. That's what that comes to mind when I hear that number is that a blended number, right? Because it sounds, when you hear that number, you're like, oh, no, that can't be right. That sounds too low.
Oh, you mean blended as in all classes?
All
like
classes, ABC.
Yeah. Probably.
That's an average. That's an average, right? Because,
absolutely.
Because, we've had conversations with multiple brokers, and, they say, well, the older buildings are getting somewhere in the 50s or high 40s or something around that ballpark.
Yeah.
And you get the brand new product coming in, going the 90s, 100. So, yeah, I can see that number. And it's funny because your first reaction when you read that article is 65. That's a low number. Well, to me that just sounds like a blended number.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that. It says our projections of mass migration of corporate investment and people are now playing out tenfold. It's like only getting better.
No doubt. And you notice every podcast we've done, the hot topic had been, besides multifamily, office,
it's industrial.
No, industrial, but
industrial is the second level.
It's second, but office has been progressively. It made a comeback.
Oh yeah,
it made a comeback
in Miami and in West
in
Palm
Miami,
for sure.
In Palm Beach, it made a comeback.
Not so much Broward, but
yeah.
Palm Beach and Miami.
And the numbers say it all.
Because, that it's lending itself to the migration and to the businesses.
Of course. People need
the
places to go to.
States and such. But don't get it wrong. It says right here from CoStar, no sign of slowdown as U.S. industrial leasing roars through spring 2022. Despite Amazon pullback, rising inflation, strong demand for industrial space sends rents soaring. What do you think about that?
Well, we just said it earlier. Industrial number 2, the hot. Any networking event, any conference we've gone to, it's industrial. It's been multifamily, then industrial, and third, I would probably say, depending on who you talk to, retail and office. Right.
Retail's making a comeback right now.
For sure.
A lot of sales.
Me
and him were putting in sales today of shopping centers.
I was talking yesterday to a leasing broker, and this is what property we're working on up in the Lantana area. Mm-hmm. Okay. He even told me property that he was leasing in January, a $19 to $20 triple net, right now in $24 to $28 triple net. And we're just talking about, non-grocery anchored, small strip centers, less than 10,000 square feet. We're talking about
small.
It's nice. They're nice,
It's a strip center.
It's a strip center.
Yeah.
What your biggest
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, Subway,
Barbershop.
barbershop,
Yeah.
nail salon,
That's it.
pizza,
Bodega.
Domino's Pizza, a little, not even a bodega, but bodega won't even pay
Liquor
$28. Not even that. $24 to $28 triple net down. This is the nicer product stuff, vintage, 2010, 2000, anything 2010 to now. And he even said, even on the older vintage stuff, if you're in a grocery anchored tenant, now this is speaking strictly in the South Florida, mainly in the Palm Beach, Northern Broward area. He said, man, I have a waiting list of tenants, and we're offering, get this, which I haven't heard in a long time, little to no concession for retail. And we used to see 1 to 3 months.
Well,
concession.
here's how it works. It depends on, this is what, obviously it depends on the tenant.
Right.
It depends on the credit. It depends on the term. Always. That's how it is.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, and when they say no TI, that means just that they're not going to do a new build out. They're allowing the tenant to do a build out, but it could already be built out second generation.
Correct.
And to your point is that, vacancy is it's below 4%.
It's below 4. But I pushed back and I said, you mean you're offering no TI? What about if it's a good quality credit tenant? The conversation changed. Oh, wait a minute.
But that's
just typical retail. But it's funny because I've worked with this broker and other deals in the past, and it's just been constant. Retail is on fire, and we all know that. It's no secret. But it was interesting to hear how much it appreciated in just 6 months. For just your mom and pop, we're talking 1,300 square foot bays. We're not talking anything glamorous. We're not even grocery anchor spaces. Which is kind of crazy. You would think that kind of number would be more in the grocery anchored.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's, that whole inline $25 triple net is pretty typical for grocery anchored shopping centers from all South Florida. But yeah, man, I mean, retail took a big hit. Took a long time for it to recover.
I think all classes.
But I think we talked, no, not all classes.
Well, wait. I was about to say.
There's a lot of, what's funny is that we forget about pent-up demand in multifamily. We forget about rent moratorium, where they couldn't kick people out. We forget about those things, man.
Of course. And one of the things I was saying was,
But now they're building industrial on spec.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan Williams told me today that he said, were you in the business around 2008?
I think we all. I was. 2008 was.
And he said, "It's happening all over again. It's happening all over again."
No, I would disagree with that because the lending.
They're building on spec.
No, the lending parameters are different than 2008. Man, 2008 was the wild west.
I told him. They're softening LTV. They're softening debt coverage ratio.
Yeah, no.
They're looking at the debt yield 3, 5, and 7 exit.
But then
less
again,
leveraged.
Yeah, I agree, but it's a totally different lending climate than it was in 2008. I don't. And then again, who knows, man? You would have told me in 2006, 2007, in 2008, the ceiling was gonna, the floor was gonna collapse. I would have been like, you're crazy. So, you never know. It's hard to predict, man. But I can tell you from my experience, the lending parameters are different than 2008.
So I think I was reading this. I mean, it's a little to the left of real estate, but it has to do with what's being attracted in South Florida and Miami, which were, really making a big deal about bringing on these cryptocurrency or bringing on the tech companies, right, to South Florida. And here's an article by the South Florida Business Journal that it just says, caught my eye, TradeStation Crypto donates $50,000 to help Miami college students launch cryptocurrency investment strategy. So, TradeStation currently supports trading BCH, BTC, Ether, LTC, USDC. Clients can also own crypto as an alternative investment in self-directed individual retirement age, arrangement or an IRR through the platform. But it also says that founded in 1982, TradeStation Group operates an online platforms that enable users to trade stocks, crypto, and other securities. The company has U.S. offices in New York, Chicago, Richardson, Texas, in addition to its South Florida headquarters. Says TradeStation Group made headlines earlier this year when it commissioned the 11-foot, 11,000-pound Miami Bull statue, which was revealed with fanfare as the first day of the 2022 Bitcoin conference at the Miami Beach Conference Center, owned by Pena. The sculpture is now on display at the Miami-Dade College Wolfson campus. But the thing is, it says, our goal is to help prepare these students to develop modern investment strategies that include hedging and risk management. And what they're doing is their TradeStation Crypto self-clearing online brokerage for trade. It says a subsidiary of the plantation-based financial technology company. The TradeStation Group donated $50,000 to help Miami-Dade College students stake their claim in the South Florida's hot cryptocurrency market. Now, in the last couple of weeks, cryptocurrency has taken a fucking dive. Stock market equities has taken a dive. But I just think that it's cool that they are donating to the students and helping them, launch this crypto investment strategy offered by Miami-Dade College. The students' educational tools and technologies to gain real-time experience around the spot crypto trading.
Well, yeah. What the good thing about this is it also teaches them that it's not all glamorous, right? You're gonna have it's like any other type of investment.
I don't know if it's teaching them that, but they're actually seeing
they're
that
getting
now.
a hard lesson right now when you just said the cryptocurrency market just took a hit, right?
Huge hit.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
So props. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this is really cool that they're doing this. Me personally, I'm not that versed into the cryptocurrency market, which is kind of why it piqued my interest. For that conference we're going to BizNow event we're going to, it kind of ties into
when
this.
Is that?
August 2nd. So I think for me, that's going to be very educational for me to get a better understanding how the cryptocurrency market and all ties into commercial real estate investment, right? But right now, sitting here today, I'm not that versed into the cryptocurrency market to even have a conversation about it. And I should be, given how we're starting to see conversations about
you're exposing yourself, going to the conference. So
yeah, absolutely.
You'll see it next month. So here's an article from South Florida Business Journal, and it says, here's where the cost of living is rising the most. And also, which cities have been hit the hardest by inflation? Least affordable cities, inflation, economic impacts. So what do you think is the least affordable city?
The least affordable city, if you would ask me, there's only two cities I can think of right now, off the top of my head.
You.
No, off the top of my head.
I am asking you. Ralph Pena, what's the least affordable city?
Over the years, all my career, since I've started working, New York City and San Francisco has always been my 1-2 least affordable cities. They've always been.
Okay, you got one out of two. Okay. New York is the number one least affordable city.
I believe it. Yeah.
Number 2 is Honolulu, Hawaii. And then number 3,
Brooklyn.
Boston.
I mean, to me, no. Well, no, number. But this is funny when you're looking at this.
You're going because it's New York.
Yeah, Brooklyn and Manhattan. To me, it's kind of like a 1-2, just
a borough.
Yeah.
So New York, Hawaii, Boston, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Diego, Oakland, Chicago. Most least affordable cities.
You know what I'm surprised?
I thought Miami was going to be in there.
I was just about to say that.
I was actually happy that it wasn't in there. So it says, which cities have been hit hardest by inflation? Inflation has hit some metros areas much harder than others. You can see the gallery above. Dayton, Ohio had the highest increase in cost of living among cities within the nation's 100 largest metro areas.
Dayton, Ohio. Interesting.
You know what I mean? So when they talk about entitled white people, I mean, I guess it's just not.
I don't know Dayton. I mean,
that's not entitlement when you're getting hit by the highest inflation.
Yeah, like I'm not surprised to see a Chicago, the highest increase in total cost of living between the first quarter of 2019 and the first quarter of 2020.
What do you mean? Why are you not
surprised?
Metro,
big metro. When you tell me which cities have been hit with the largest, I'm thinking major cities. I'm not thinking Dayton, Ohio. I'm not thinking Bozeman, Montana, Cape Coral, Florida.
Chicago, the 10th most expensive in the nation.
Yeah.
But it says, but it wasn't just large cities that experienced huge cost surges. So Montana did.
Cape
Coral, Florida. Dayton, Ohio, also ranked among the places with the largest jumps between 2019 and 2022. In each of those areas, spiking housing costs, particularly when it comes to rent, were a significant factor in the increases. In Dayton, for example, average rents rose from $810 a month to $1,300.
That's a huge, on a percentage basis.
All I can say is, if you were owning multifamily in Dayton, Ohio, cha-ching. You hit the jackpot.
Wow. And that just,
it's almost like they turned Dayton, Ohio into Las Vegas.
Jesus.
I mean, come on now. Amazing. Sorry about, it stinks that happens and your cost of living goes up. But, man, if you're an investor.
I mean, and we're thinking here $1,300 a month rent. I'm going, that's dirt cheap for us. Think of it, put it in perspective when we're looking at.
As long as it's legal.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean,
because that segues into my next article about South Florida man sentenced to prison for role in securities, real estate investment fraud schemes. This is from South Florida Business Journal. Palm Beach County man will serve prison time for his role in stock and real estate investment schemes that defrauded investors and aspiring home buyers. I won't say his name, but he was from Delray. He was sentenced to 5 years. That's it, though. 5 years.
That's it?
State prison. But he didn't, I don't know. He didn't rip him off that. Followed by, followed by 10 years probation. He was also ordered to pay $136,000 restitution. Doesn't say how much he ripped him off for.
But when you read that headline.
But it's like, come on, man. Like, how many times are they going to go through this? How many times do they got to do the same fraud?
If I were to read that headline and ask you, what do you think that guy got? Time.
No, I know, because I always read this stuff.
5 years.
That's it, man.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pay $135,000. 10 years probation. Slap on the wrist. Have a nice day. That's insane.
Yeah, he said he was not registered to offer or sell securities at the time that he solicited investments. The investigation revealed that Bradbury produced and distributed fake account statements showing profitable trades that never happened in the effort to convince investors that their investments were performing well. That's the exact same thing that they all do.
Yeah, man. And you would think by now, today, they would have tied up like large prison sentence.
No, it's just hard, man.
It's
because
hard.
The thing about finance is that people don't know, right? So it's
you can play dumb.
No, it's not about playing dumb. It's that people don't know about finance. So you can be a hard worker and you can make your money. And you just don't know what to do with it, right? And you can't let it just sit in the bank because it's not making you any return. Right. So they just, if your friend is like, or your so-called friend is saying like, hey man, you got to do this, got to invest in this, got to and then your neighbor's saying like, oh yeah, I'm investing with him too, and I'm seeing statements and blah blah blah. That's the scheme, right? Yeah, but steal from John to pay Peter and all that stuff.
But the Ponzi scheme. At the end of the day, though, man, after everything that we've heard in the news, you would think there would be harsher prison sentence. They're stealing from people.
Yeah, but they don't even care, man. They don't care at all.
That's crazy. Speaking of, segueing into. I don't know. We segue into this, but rethinking the ground lease.
Read it. Tell me.
Actually, you're going to have to read it. Real deal.
It is the real deal. And ground leases are... Can you explain the ground lease?
Ground lease pretty much is if I have a piece of land, I'm the owner. I can lease it. I'm going to use Dave as an example. I own a piece of land. I'm going to turn around to Dave and say, Dave, I'm going to lease this piece of dirt for you for 99 years. Let me take it back. 50 years at...
Or 99 years.
Average. They're average 50 to 99 years. But let's say 50 years, and I'm going to lease it to you for $50,000 a year. Here you go. You sign the agreement, and then depending on how the leases are structured, generally what they are is Dave can turn around and develop a high-rise, And Dave owns the right to the high rise. Dave owns the right to the cash flow that the high rise generates. As long as he paid me my rent, it's basically an expense line item for his expenses. Ground leases are common. One of the most common ground leases you'll see is a lot of it on the office side and also on the retail side, especially on the QSR, the fast food, the McDonald's of the world, the Wendy's of the world. They generally triple net ground lease. And this article focuses more on the New York City market, if I'm not mistaken.
So it says, yes, you are totally correct. It says, Vornado Realty Trust says the land beneath its office building at 330 West 34th Street is worth $145 million. That's what the trust says that owns the building. The landowner, Hames Investment Company, claims its value is $225 million. So I said the person that owns the office, $145, they say the land's worth. The guy that owns the land says it's worth $225. It's a big difference.
Huge.
Entitling the guy that owns the land to more than $5 million in additional annual rent that's going to come from the owner of that building. So if you're not ready for, if you own whatever your business is, and if you're saying that you've been paying $5, let's make an easy number, right? $5 a year for rent.
And you're up
and
for
that
renewal.
Rent goes to $20 and your business can't deal with that, then that's you could be underwater right there.
It's a domino effect because if you have financing contingents on what we talked about, DSCR, right? That line item expense for the ground lease payment increases, your DSCR decreases. So if you have a loan with a lender based on what we consider the leasehold interest, which is the landlord, the rights, not the landlord, the tenant, which is the owner of the building, he got financing based off the cash flow that the building generating. They're going to lend him based off of the DSCR. So it can have a domino effect.
Yeah, man. It says that the article, this is from the Real Deal, like Ralph said, assuming no further hikes, that would be nearly $170 million over the course of Vornado's 30-year lease. It says also, to reiterate what Ralph explained, ground leases in which a party agrees to develop a vacant property that will eventually be returned to the owner. Often after several decades are ubiquitous in New York City, but so are the legal battles they cause. Such disputes have embroiled some of Manhattan's most iconic properties, including the Chrysler Building, the Plaza Hotel, the Lever House. Nearly all of them spring from disagreements over how to calculate future rent. Historically, rent is reset for these long-term leases every 20 to 30 years, often based on the estimated fair market value of the property if it were still a developable plot. The discrepancy between how appraisers interpret this often invites litigation.
Yeah.
To avoid that, some have opted for incremental increases based on inflation. This newer model worked when inflation was steady, providing relatively predictable rent growth. That dynamic has changed dramatically. There's been a shock to the marketplace since during the industry, even escalations over time are not going to work. It says,
yeah, we don't see much, at least in my experience. We don't see, there's ground leases, but the ground leases we've encountered have been more in the suburban Broward, at least I have, market, the Fort Lauderdale suburban market, right along the Fort Lauderdale Community Airport, Executive Airport corridor. A lot of those office buildings are on ground leases with the city of Fort Lauderdale. We don't see them as much as probably other markets where it's so common that pretty much in New York City, it's such a common thing, I believe. I mean, up and down New York, most of Manhattan's on ground lease.
Yeah, but it's all right to be on a ground lease, especially like what they were saying with where inflation was tied to the CPI.
Right,
and everything has been going up to 2.5%, 3% year after year after year. And now you come into this different environment where things have inflated 20%.
Jeez.
So imagine that's just bad timing.
Yeah, of course.
If you're the building owner and your ground lease is coming to fair market, it's like, what do you do?
Especially if you've had it for 50 plus years, which
It says in a stable marketplace, you will see perhaps a difference in valuation. As real estate investment trusts, Bernardo and SL Green are limited in how they can negotiate rent resets, but some landlords and tenants have gotten creative. A partner in Fried Frank's real estate litigation department said appraisals based on the fair market value of the land can make it more difficult for the tenant to secure financing, given the threat of an unknown and potentially massive rent hike. She said landlords and tenants have turned to alternatives in recent years, including flat percentage increases as well as those based on the CPI, like I just mentioned, and gross revenue. She expects the current market uncertainty to drive more parties to try these and other models for new ground leases and when negotiating renewals. A smart landlord who is looking at a long term is going to realize there is something in it for them to agree to modify those provisions, she said, noting that financial survival of the tenant is often in the landlord's owner's best interest. So they're going to go to court, right? But to use your phrase, at the end of the day, they need the tenant.
Yeah, of course.
So they can't raise it so high that the tenant can't stay there.
If the tenant default, the landlord's stuck with the building.
Yeah, and then what?
And then what? So,
especially in New York.
Yeah.
It's not a small building.
No.
We're not talking about a bodega.
No, we're talking about a
We're not talking about Little Havana.
We're talking about a million plus towers here.
But it's interesting, right?
Yeah, very interesting.
No one thinks about that.
No, of course not.
Your normal person walking down the sidewalk does not think about this land is leased.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't own this building. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. It's lucrative. Listen, if you're the landlord on a ground lease, it's very lucrative. You're just sitting there collecting money. That's it. You're not even paying the real estate taxes. You're just collecting money. And again, we're back to, at least down here,
it's like legacy wealth, right? It's like,
yeah, that's really what it is.
Passed on.
You know, down here, I mean, the most common ground leases I've seen are more the McDonald's of the world. That's a common thing for McDonald's. Wawa. Some Wendy's.
They're out there.
They're out there. But it's not as prevalent as it is in the Northeast.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, at least in my experience, it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing. There's a segment here in our market that we're not seeing.
I heard in like Mexico, everything's like the whole, you can't own, like the government owns, it's all 99-year lease.
So the government owns the land.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but then, you know, that's a little different than here because the government owns a ground lease. The government turn around and say, you know, I'm taking over this building.
Where? There? In Mexico?
Yeah, there in Mexico. Yeah.
Here, the government just sells it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know.
They do.
Yeah.
We were on a phone call today where they're negotiating the city.
That's true. The city, the municipalities. Yeah. When you say government, rights. In my mind, I automatically went federal, but you're right. The local government, the municipalities.
Sell everything.
They'll sell everything. It will sell you the alley.
Yeah.
You know?
We want the taxes.
Yeah. That's all they care about. With the tax revenue. Because that's how they make their money. So, speaking about making money,
I'd like
Surfside.
To make some money. Ooh, good article.
Yeah, it's a very good article.
Oh, this is a real deal too?
Yeah, $1 billion plus Surfside settlement marks a milestone in the lawsuit over the deadly condominium collapse. It also reveals the role of real estate insurance and is a harbinger of premium hikes that could what are all these fancy words, man? Reverberate across the industry. The insurance carrier had 31 entities that are contributing toward the $1.02 billion total disbursement. All who settled have denied any wrongdoing and liability. Interesting, right? Everybody denies wrongdoing and liability. And I'll let you take the lead on the rest because it's interesting to see, you know, how we've had this major...
Well, you know, like everyone had insurance. So, like, valet company.
Everybody.
No, but so if you were working as valet, the building came down and you died, that's an insurance.
Yeah, the liability insurance. Everybody who's involved, contractor,
the
vendor,
developers that were developing next door, Terra Group,
all of them
liable.
And now
this is changing everything.
Yeah.
Across the board.
But it's crazy because while condo and project construction premiums were steadily rising before the Chaplin Tower South collapse last summer, killing 98 people, the cave-in sent condo association insurance costs skyrocketing and could push construction insurance premium even higher. That's a no-brainer. We all know that insurance premiums are going to go up once this occurs because it exposes, it's like anything else. Insurances are reasonable. The rates are reasonable until you make a claim.
Something out, right?
Yeah, until you make a claim. Go make a claim on your car insurance, for example. It's decent until you crash.
It's the best business there is.
Oh, dude, of course.
How do we get in the insurance business?
Yeah, I know, right? We're in the wrong business, It's kind of crazy because when you start reading about all this, nobody talked about liability insurance premium hikes until this occurs.
It says the settlement, which breaks down each contribution, is clear record of developers and construction companies' exposure in a deadly calamity. Insurers are looking and going, my God, if we touch something that has this type of issue, we are potentially going to have to pay out big money. Isn't that crazy? Just that, my God, if we touch something that this type of issue, we are going to potentially have to go. Isn't that insurance?
Of course.
That's how we think.
That's
right?
how we think. I'm making you a payment. How much I'm paying you?
We're like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
How do
we
we mitigate this?
But what are you doing with the money I'm giving you?
They invest it in real estate.
Yeah, they invest in real estate, and then the real estate.
But hey, thank God for that though too.
Of course,
they do. They do invest this.
They do invest it. They get a higher return. But then again, the purpose of insurance is to provide you some kind of shelter in case something catastrophic occurs, right?
It says,
I don't expect to be paying more money after the catastrophe.
Yeah, but that's yes,
just me, the consumer.
You think that.
You think that
we
because
know that's different.
I agree. But it's like a car, and I always use car insurance as an example. Your insurance premium is great until you get into one car accident. And guess what? It spikes.
You're a risk.
Yeah, you're a risk now. It's like, wait a minute.
Because you used what you were
one
paying
claim.
for it.
I've been paying for it. I make one claim, and then I get shafted.
You're a risk.
You're a risk. Yeah. And you're an at-risk driver now. And this right here, now you're an at-risk developer.
It's kind of what happens in relationships too, right? Like you make one mistake.
Yeah. Well,
your spouse is like,
hey, we don't have to go
We're
far.
no longer on that first tier. We're on the second tier now.
Our industry, you're as good as your last appraisal.
No, you're not. You
Dude,
always say that.
I always say that because
I don't believe you.
Because you know what?
I don't believe that
You can have a loyal client, and all it takes is that one report.
Yeah, but that's not what you're saying.
You're as good as your last appraisal.
To that client.
But that's what I'm going with.
No, but that's what you're saying.
It's the insurance company as well.
It's to that client, though.
Dude, if you have State Farm Insurance and you're making your payments.
If Greystone's my client, and then my last appraisal was with Blackstone, and
no,
it has nothing to do with Greystone.
That's not what I'm going with.
That's what you're saying.
I'm talking about Greystone.
Yeah.
If I've been loyal to Greystone, I'm using them as an example, doing spot on reports. And that one report that they have a major disagreement with us, we can do a spot-on great assignment. There's a high probability, okay? We may not be taken off their list, but our volume can diminish.
Well, luckily, I've never felt that. And working for a beautiful company that we do as Colliers, I think across the board nationally, we don't feel that because our customer service is A+.
Listen,
but I can see what you're coming from.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming. I'm comparing it to the insurance industry.
But okay, so this says carriers still willing to insure will face less competition, so will be unafraid to increase premiums. In the past 6 to 9 months, many master condo associations saw premiums double.
Jesus.
And unit owners saw them rise as average of 30 to 40%, as much as 50%. But here's the thing, man. They weren't doing this. They were like.
But this is old news, man. They all do it.
It says we're all going to be paying for the Chaplin Towers through our insurance companies for a while, said Torres, who founded the Leads, the Astor companies. Developers opting to build oceanfront projects next to aging buildings will be hardest hit for insurance premiums, experts say. I don't think people understand this, and I didn't until I read this, is that when you have an older building on the beachfront, right, and then you buy the lot next door, or you demolish the building, and then you go to build a new high-rise, brand new 2022, right? And in Florida, we have the limestone that you're drilling into, and that affects all the buildings, the radius around you.
The vibration from the drilling and all that. And on top of that, you got the water table beneath all that.
So if you have, if you're a condo association who's been lacking on your
reserves, your engineering reports,
your reserves, your engineering reports,
yeah,
all that
absolutely.
stuff, and you're just passing that through, and because no one wants to pay that, or no one wants to save on that, everyone wants to save on that, then you got a problem.
Of course, and I think, look, right here, developer Henry Torres, who's the president of the board at Merrick Manor condo project that he's building in Coral Gables, the association insurance rate went up 75%, and he was anticipating 25%. So he's already anticipating an increase of 25%.
It says insurance companies just don't volunteer to pay $517 million for something. They would go out of business if they do that. The fact that it's an international organization, they could be sued for up $1 billion themselves. James Dean Kluger, a real estate and litigation attorney in Miami, reiterated that no conclusions could be drawn from a settlement at some point. It's just adjusters in a room doing math. He said, our clients' insurers made a business decision to contribute to the overall settlement of this litigation in order to resolve claims against them and avoid the time, expense, and the inconvenience for litigation. I mean, this case still maybe not be smooth sailing. I don't know, put in their name, but most likely they had this one thing that I wanted to read right here. Yeah. Workarounds. Developers already had become accustomed to higher builders' risk and contractor-controlled insurance, which has risen an average of 25% annually across the U.S., with some policies up to 50 to 100%, according to the insurance information. So, but condo insurance also rose.
Yeah, but then again, this goes back to what I just said earlier about the developer in the Gables. He was expecting a 25% increase, not 75. At the end, where does it become highway robbery with these insurance companies? Where they know you need them. They know there's a limited supply of insurance carriers who are willing to underwrite to your project.
Well, it says right here, yeah. Yet not everyone is convinced insurance costs are increasing because of the Surfside collapse. Last year was one of the most expensive years on record for insurance companies because of a handful of global catastrophes.
But what are these global catastrophes that cause insurance premium?
Well, the thing is that it's the negligence.
Exactly. So,
of the operator or the condo associations. I mean, it's not just the insurance companies. I get that the insurance companies are going to increase, and they're taking but it's the
sad part is they're taking advantage of a catastrophe to hike up the rates for everybody else, right? They're taking advantage of it. That's how I view it. One thing is to do your traditional 20, 25%. If you want to even go to 30%, okay. But when you start getting into that 75, 100% increase, simply because a tower went down, which we all know is a catastrophic event, once in a, my God, if you want to really get down to it, it's almost a once-generational thing because it had never really happened before here in Dade County, right? And because of that one event, where we could all point the fingers at everybody. You can say the guy next door was drilling in the limestone that caused part of the tower to go down. You can say the condo association didn't have enough in reserve to cover the retrofitting the building to retrofit the structure. There's a lot of finger pointing here.
Stop. That's a big deal, man.
It is, but the point
that's a big. It's
all a big deal.
If you have a condo board that's not, managing correctly and not allocating reserves or funds correctly and not having or administering the right reports with engineering yearly or I don't know how every 5 years or 30-year, 40-year certification, right? If they're not doing that correctly or being transparent about it, then the insurance company is taking the grunt of that.
I agree, but let me ask you.
They're insured, right? So the insurance company is saying, like, we believe in this tower, we believe in this location, we believe in the people that
are running it,
operating it, right?
Yeah, but let me ask you this.
But they're not. This is my problem of they're not qualified to be running these associations.
But prior to this tragedy, you live in a condo. Did you pay attention to the reserves? Did you pay attention to what's going on with?
No, but I am aware of it now, and I'm also joined the board of my condo association in Fort Pierce.
What triggered it?
And also, I wasn't aware that, like, look, I live in a condo building on the water, and there's construction going on a couple buildings south of us. I wasn't aware that could impact the building that I live in. I was completely not aware of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people are.
No. And it's sad that it took an event like this to open people's eyes. But you know what's interesting about all this? Nothing. Well, let's look at the state for this government, for example. Has any changes been made? It's been a year. Has any regulation been put in place as far as reserves? I'm out of it because I don't own a condo.
It is. It's all going on right now.
Okay.
That's why this is being talked about. This is a major article right now.
It's a major article because
it's not only talking about insurance or talking about lawsuits, but it's also talking about developers. So if you're a developer and you buy a lot, right, on the ocean, which there's not many of them in South Florida,
yeah.
and you are able to buy the lot and secure the financing, and you know what I mean? Like, you beat out the other bidders, and now you have this lot. And maybe you have aged condo towers,
and you budgeted for insurance for a particular amount, and now
it's different.
And now it's different. Yeah, but it
and developers have to develop. That's what they do.
It's sad.
And plus, population's increasing, so we need them.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen here is the insurance premiums are going to continue to keep on skyrocketing, and what's going to be attributing to all this as well. Now, people are going to be forced. Condominiums associations are going to be forced to do the 40-year recertification. They're going to be forced to now tell the insurance companies, this is what we're finding. Insurance companies now are going to turn around and say, well, now you're in at risk. We're going to increase your premiums. And then the consumer is going to pay for it on the HOA dues.
Well, listen, if you don't want to stay in a condo, right?
Yeah.
All I can tell you is, since 2019, in Miami, hotel rates have gone up 56%. The area has seen the biggest 3-year surge among top summer destinations. It says hotel rates have surged in Miami during the past 3 years, more than in several other tourist destinations nationwide. The average daily hotel room, if you want to stay in Miami, for the first 5 months of the year reached $369. Why couldn't they just say $370?
Yeah.
I don't know. According to an analysis by Bloomberg, that represents a 55.6% increase from the same period in 2019 when the average was $237. So, yes, it took a hit. And that's what we keep forgetting, right? Yeah. Hotels were shut down. No one was traveling. No one was taking planes. No one was going anywhere. Florida, Texas, a couple different states opened up early.
Yeah.
But I remember going, and I think I did a hotel inspection for somebody. I asked them, like, it was like nobody there. And this is on South Beach. And now, and you see these numbers of these surges and these spikes. I mean, just pent up demand, I guess. And, you know, it's just like the insurance kind of thing, right? It's like, it says of the 7 markets analyzed, Miami had the largest surge in average room rates in the last 3 years. The Hamptons came in second, where rates have increased by 51%. Nantucket, Massachusetts ranked third in analysis.
Well, like what you were saying before, I mean, we were open a lot earlier than most states, right? So what did everybody gravitate to? Hey, we have an opportunity to go somewhere where it's a little bit more lax. I'm willing to pay a little bit more because I didn't travel in all of 2020 or most of 2020, so I was able to save money. So I'm willing to spend a little bit more, splurge a little bit more, and come down to Miami, relax, and just pay the premium. That's really what it boiled down to. And I think that's
and it's
where...
even saying, like, Miami took a huge hit. I mean, we're already, like, not the go-to place during the summer because of our increased, temperatures. But our Basel, we didn't have our Basel.
We're a winter. Hit. Think about it. When you get into the fall, the winter season, the spring, this is everybody wants to be here. Always been that way.
Well, that's what they're saying. So to see these rate hikes, it says mid-July room rates of other luxury properties in Miami Beach include $534 per night at the Fahina and $417 per night at the Betsy. These are huge numbers.
Huge
during summer.
Hey, listen, I was talking to a guy.
The Setai, $717.
Yeah. Well, listen,
studio suites.
There was a guy I went to with a multifamily. I was working on 2 transient units, 16th and Jefferson. He was saying during the height of tourist season, he gets $600 a night. And this is just nothing. This is just a place to drop your luggage and sleep. And that going at $600 a night, I can see the Setai at $700 plus. The only difference is you can go downstairs to a bar and have a beer and pay $30 for that beer as a Setai. But hey,
it's amazing.
It is.
I mean, it
is. And I
haven't read one article except for the guy going to jail.
It's not positive. Well,
what is stupid. I mean, we weren't on the highest cost of living.
Yeah.
But everything else is like booming.
Booming, yeah. Except for high insurance costs, man.
And that's a huge factor, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good.
Everything is up in Miami, man. South Florida, this is it, place to be, and what a better way.
And I would bet that insurance increase is only impacting those oceanfront properties, towers.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now. You're going to start seeing that one because again, what I said before, it's forcing everybody to go back and take a look at their structures. Then you're going to have to make a claim. Once you make that claim, guess what happened to your insurance policy the following year?
I mean, yeah, man, that's a big
one. And the consumer, though, right? And then it gets back down to HOA dues. And then how did that impact the overall real estate? Well, you may be able to afford the unit, but if you compile the HOA fee on top of your monthly payment on the mortgage, you may not be able to afford it.
I wonder how they get around it.
I don't think there is a way to get around it.
I wonder if there's going to be a convention talking about that, like the impact of rising insurance costs.
Yeah, it gets
on developers or even condo associations.
It all gets passed to the consumer. What I mean by consumer, I mean the individual living in the buildings.
Shake it off until litigation or
but what is it to litigate?
Or not litigation? Is the wrong word, but the laws.
Yeah.
What is it called?
The claim?
No, like when laws are enforced.
Oh, laws are enforced. Well, that's the thing. Laws need to be enforced.
Law.
They have. Something's got to give here because it's going to happen.
Speaking to them.
It's going to happen. Older buildings are going to be forced now because of what happened to be recertified. And I've been repeating this. Stuff is going to be found. Engineering reports are going to point at certain structural issues, right? The cost is going to be astronomical to repair it, so they make an insurance claim. Okay? You may have a special assessment to address the repairs.
That company's going to boom.
Right? You're going to have a special assessment to address the repairs, right? You made a claim on your insurance. The difference may be passed on to, whatever what's the word I'm looking for, where the deductible may get passed on as a special assessment to the condo owners. But then the following year, because you made a claim, they can either not renew or bump it to a crazy amount.
What do you mean by claim? Condo association, who's going to make a claim?
They make the claim on the repairs because it's such a huge amount. And they can, I mean, it all depends on the insurance policy. I'm not an expert here. I'm just speculating. I'm just sitting there.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to someone.
Yeah, this is all.
Understand that, like, how does it affect, like, development? How does it affect, down to the owner of a condo unit? How does it affect that? You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good question to have when you have a condo development that you ever work on. Next condo project
I wonder,
to work on.
Like, with the government, because there's a government aspect, right? Law aspect. And then there's the insurance company.
Right.
And then there's the developer. And then there's the consumer. How does it impact each component?
I don't know. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Interesting to hear that.
Because it's what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
That just the trickle down. Anyway, so 10-year, over 3%, 3.059. It's been trending whole week. I've been watching it. Let's see. It went from Monday, 3.017. And then, like I said, it's up to 3.059. 30-year fix is at 5.54. That's crazy.
Yeah,
5.54.
5.54. Wow.
Double. Like, it's a 50% increase.
Yeah.
So the cost of buying a house has increased by 50%.
I believe it.
And that's crazy to think, though, like, right? Like, people don't think like that. People don't think like, they say, oh, yeah, and interest rates are going up. But the interest rate is the bank. And the bank, reflects your partner in this deal and really reflects the majority of the money that's coming to the table to buy this asset.
It impacts
right?
your qualification to buy a house. Well, maybe a year ago you can qualify for $500,000. Now, because of the rising cost of the interest rate, you can only qualify.
It's risen.
It's risen
50%.
Yes. So maybe a year ago you would have qualified for a $500,000 house, and maybe today you may only qualify for $415,000.
No.
No time.
It's risen 50%.
But I'm talking about 50%.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, boss.
Doesn't matter. It's risen 50%.
50%. That's not, well, you are going to see then, unfortunately, a slowdown.
The Feds are saying another 100.
Jeez.
No, I don't know if it'll get there.
No, I don't think so. I hope not.
Well, they're claiming it's going to get there. So it says Thursday, June 9th, 2022, the average rate for a 30 fixed mortgage is 5.54, an increase of 8 basis points since the same time last week. If you're looking to refinance your current mortgage, the national 30-year fixed refinance rate is 5.53, an increase of 11 basis points since the same time last week. Meanwhile, the national 15-year fixed refinance rate, 4.75, up 6 basis points over last week. Everything's up, man. Insurance is up. Interest rates are up. Everything else is up. Rents are up.
Everything's up, dude. We're going to end this on a positive note.
Say it.
Everything's up. I mean, everything's like, wah. Everything just negative.
Everything's up. So, therefore, if you like the content, go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the like button. Talk to you next week. Let's talk real estate in 7 days. Ralph Pena.
Have a good one, everyone.